Today, we just don't welcome a man, we welcome a legend. A tale crafted in the crucible of service, honed by the fires of sacrifice, and adorned with the jewels of wisdom. Major General Sudhakar ji is not just a name etched in the annals of defense. He embodies courage, leadership, and strategic vision. From the heights of Siachen Glacier to the tables of diplomacy in United Nations, he stood calm in chaos, very resolute in turbulence, and he held his high across India and across the globe. He led evacuations from war zones, crafted cross-border strategies, and advised leaders at the highest levels, not just with knowledge, but with lived insight. For General Sudhakar ji, winning is a way of life. It's a habit. It's almost a second nature. But his impact reaches beyond. Now his mind shapes boardrooms, think tanks, and the next generation warriors, builders, leaders, and thinkers.
One thing which I would attribute to my growth story is getting to know that I knew nothing. I came from a village. I couldn't communicate. I couldn't actually lead people. I couldn't understand the task. I couldn't analyze the problem. That was the start point of my career in the growth chart to become a general officer in the Indian Army. There's the old saying, and that saying goes that he who controls Indian Ocean will control Asia. China is threat number one towards the global order.
And do you really believe we're doing enough to shape the narrative internationally on South Asian security issues?
Quick answer to the question is no.
One word, what does leadership mean to you?
Leadership means leading people to death with no questions in the mind. No amount of praise about an institute like National Defense Academy is going to do justice to this premier institution. It's one of its kind in the world. I would say the best in the world if I take the liberty of saying.
Absolutely.
You see, National Defense Academy has to be understood in earnest that it is not only the physical toughness or the mental robustness. There is an old saying, when the tough gets going, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going. So in order to achieve this, we used to be having a poem, if, in our Rudyard Kipling in our cabins, and our lifestyle, the way of life is to be covered with many activities, physical as also academic. But the central point of all these, if I may have to sum up, is actually character building. Character building is a central point of every military leadership. I'll try and not use those military terminology of camaraderie and esprit de corps, try to use expressions which are best understood by the people. What is character? Many of us don't even understand what is character. When you start defining in terms of the very usage of the term character, what it means is simple facts like honesty, compassion, courage, persistence, responsibility. But is that enough in character? Character also, revolves around dedicating oneself for some high-end platform. What is that high-end platform? It is very important to understand that the high-end platform is nation comes first, always and every time. Second, wherever you are, you will have some people above you, some people below you, and some people with you. So it is very important to take the people with you along. And last but not the least is to, if you are left with some time, then spend that time for yourself. A leader will never have time for himself. His time is actually what he dedicates for others, well-being of others. And when you are nurturing leaders in an institution like National Defense Academy, the character becomes the central point. But in that, you are by and by trying to disseminate the factors of a leader, a task, or a circumstance. Behind all this, there is an organization. And in the organization will have some goal. As long as you, as a leader, you are able to influence your people by virtue of, not by preaching, by doing what you are telling people to do yourself, there is no question that you will not lead people to death without any questions coming in their mind. That is the true leadership and the hallmark of military leader.
In multiple ways beyond the military world and even in the corporate world, for example, whether it's India, whether it's US or any other geography, the concept of character, which you so beautifully articulated, is really the hallmark of any organization or any individual in their journey in whatever they're trying to accomplish. And you've served across multiple conflict zones. And our audience is very curious to learn from you about leadership, about entrepreneurship. And I'd like to ask you, what is the leadership moment in those conflict zones that you'd like to relate? And any incident that you think will have a far-reaching impact on everyone, whether it's military or civilians or sportsmen or actors or whoever.
There are many things which have happened. But in the formative years when I was a young officer or about going through the pre-commissioning training, one incident that happened which perhaps became a very prominent benchmark in my life and career. And that incident was once there was a football match going on in the first term in Ghodpuri, Pune. Khadagwasla. And I had a blank kick and I was the goalkeeper on popular demand. So that blank kick resulted in my falling absolutely unconscious. There was a blackout. One of my friends, he came, picked me up on his shoulder, Air Vice Marshal Maharaj Mahanta from my school only, took me to the military MI room, medical inspection room, and got me examined. And everyone insisted that I must get my knee operated at the earliest. This was way back in 1979. But I dug in my heel. I said, no. I firmly believe that everything that happens to a human system, there is a natural cure. So I insisted, no operation. There is a natural healing. So my ligament tear turned out to be very, very serious. So from one accident to another one, it happened. And when I got commissioned, I went for the commando course. In the commando course, we used to go at middle of the night to raid a radar station in the enemy area. It happened in India. It used to be painted in that manner in a place called Belgaum. So when we were going to raid the radar station, one fell into a blind well, again hurt the knee. A commando course, it has got 10-mile run, 16 miles, 20 miles, 40 miles with 32 kgs of paplus on top. You are carrying a weapon system in your hand. And also they drop you in the middle of the forest without map, without compass, without food. You got to come. It is called escape and evasion. I didn't want to do this course second time. I had hurt my knee. I was heading for best student. So despite all these kinds of challenges, I decided to complete the course. When I came back to the Paltan, my battalion, regiment 9 Maha, I had come straight from the hospital with a category called as A4. Category used to be A1, A2, A3, A4. I was in the lowest category. So the battalion had just come back from Op Rakshak. You are aware what was happening in Punjab that time. And it was moving to Nagaland. Nagaland in those days used to be in the peak of insurgency. Very violent, very volatile. I sought a special interview, went to the commanding officer, and I requested him, sir, no matter what happens, I would like to go with the battalion to the peak of insurgency. Believe me, I don't know where this courage came from. I said, I want to be part of the combat. I want to see how it happens. He said, my son, it is simply impossible. It cannot. Every category upgradation from A4 to A3, A3 to A2, A2 to A1 takes at least 6 months. It could be more. Yours is a physical injury. There is no guarantee you will get back to shape 1. So please pack your baggage, go to CMP Corps or military police in Bangalore. I said, no, sir. I have joined infantry for one purpose. He said, you are just talking rubbish. Anyway, since you are insisting, I am giving you a vehicle. Go 40 kilometers. Paltan was in Dhana that time. He said, go to the military hospital in Sagar. I have spoken to surgeon. He will make you go through some test, very rigorous test. If you pass, subject to his discretion and the board of officers, that he may upgrade you. So I went. Long and short is, I went there. He made me do Russian obstacle, many obstacles. I passed despite all challenges. I couldn't run, but I still ran. And thereafter, the medical officer, the surgeon, he says, Sudhakar, I don't know, when I look back, the courage which I had. I told him, this same Sudhakar didn't even know a word of Hindi or English to speak in a coherent manner. Right. I said, sir, neither you will go home, nor I'll go home. Nor both of us will go home. Both of us will stay in the army and will create history. Guru, you'll be happy and surprised to learn that it is for the first time in the history of medical science, of Armed Forces Medical organization in Indian Army, my category, which had been given as A4 a couple of hours back, 24, 48 hours back, was upgraded to A1, came back to the commanding officer, gave him the document. I said, here it is, sir, I'm coming with the Paltan. So that itself, it spoke about the resolve. And he asked me, Sudhakar, you're from a village background. On one hand, you keep saying you don't know Hindi and English. What is it that you want to continue with infantry? In infantry, people die with the fall of a hat. You can't even see your parents. You can't do anything for them. I said, sir, I don't know why actually I want to be with the Paltan and with the infantry. He said, what is your purpose of joining infantry? I looked into his eyes. I said, sir, I don't know. These ranks have no meaning. Captain, major, colonel, brigadier. But there is one thing which is making me go mad, driving me mad. What is it? Sir, in my life I have a dream. That dream is to see an enemy shooting at me. I put my head down, protect myself, and at an appropriate time, lift up my head, pick up a gun, fire at him, and shoot him down.
Wow.
He said, you are a bloody mad guy, yaar. I have you. On one hand, you say you know nothing, but on the other hand, you have such kind of an objective. So I joined the battalion, and now, without having got my knee operated, I have climbed almost all mountains in India, been there in eastern Ladakh, been in Tawang, been in Kargil, all places. And without and Siachen Glacier, and now here I am. You've taken me to your global platform. Thank you, Guru.
Make that, be ready for that sacrifice ever, and not be scared of death.
Guru, I must compliment you for taking back to my someone who I adore and respect in my heart of hearts. My father was just about class 5 pass. He was from a village background, and mother was deaf and dumb. What she said, one couldn't understand. What we used to say, one never knew that. But from that perspective, at the age of 12 or 14 years, she left home without informing anyone and joined the freedom movement. So look at the dedication and the sacrifice this man had done, and became a kind of a cynosure, a kind of attraction in the force which was mobilized by the political leadership. So he has taught me many things, but one of the very important things is that your life is not meant for yourself. Sooner you realize, better it is. So what is it meant for? Our life as a leader is meant for dedicating yourself to others. So who are the others? One, I have told you, nation. There was never a nation. There was no map of India. But he had that fictitious, imaginary kind of a structure in his mind. And second thing he said, your life is meant for others. Do everything for others. Things will automatically happen for you. And third and most important thing, what I have said a little while back is, do not bother about yourself. My children, every vacation, my daughter used to be on his lap, and my daughter used to ask Dadusa, where did you get the strength from?
Exactly.
You did escape evasion. You did. You were in the prison for so many years, and you dug tunnels and so on. So long and short of what he used to say, my strength came from that little calendar which is hanging by the wall. So my daughter went and saw, I see there is a Hanuman. There is a there is a sketch of Hanuman. He said, no, there is something written below that. So it turned out to be Hanuman Chalisa. So my children are across 7 seas in USA. So I keep telling them, make Hanuman Chalisa as the strength of your character,
Sure.
of the roadmap that you wish to lead. It will give you such strength in time of criticality or otherwise is something you cannot visualize and imagine. So that is what my father, I attribute my success to become a general officer to my father and mother. And I always place my parents higher than God and goddesses that we believe in India. Yeah, Guru.
As a leader, your life is meant for others. You're building other leaders. What a great message, General. One of the more unique chapters in your career was your role as a UN military observer in Sierra Leone. How did it feel to disarm and rehabilitate child warriors? And what lessons from that mission have stayed with you? This is something very unique. You're in the infantry, you're guarding the nation, and you're building commandos, and then you're in United Nations dealing with child warriors. And what a contrasting experience, bandwidth. And love to hear more from you.
Very, very exciting times, dangerous, extremely volatile, hostile forces. You see, selection as a military observer, the system that we follow in India is based on merit. And based on your performance, your annual confidential report, your course grading, your articulation. Like leadership, little while back we were talking, leadership is also all about communication. How effectively you communicate.
Absolutely.
You see, the ultimate idea is to influence the team. There is a criticality, there is a situation, there is a leader, you yourself are a leader. It depends how you actually communicate. So maybe if time permits, I'll take you back to something that happened in Siachen Glacier later.
Sure.
But now a question regarding the UN mission you're asking is more than the child warrior. We had the rebels. Charles Taylor used to be president of Liberia. Liberia, this is all in the west coast of Africa.
Right.
And Liberia is south of a very tiny country, a ex-British colony called as Sierra Leone. Tiny, smaller than Pondicherry that we have in India.
Correct.
And north of it is to be French Guinea. And to the east, you had lots of countries that may be part of Nigeria, part of Ghana and all these countries. But essentially what had happened was, Charles Taylor was a stooge of USA. I'm sorry I'm bringing out this point. Charles Taylor is to push forward the rebels into Sierra Leone and wanted to extend his dominance. Okay? And French and British, we know they are the arch rivals. So in a situation like that, we had rebels who had surrendered. We had multinational armed forces of the world who had represented this military observer mission. It is to be called a United Nations Military Observer Mission in Sierra Leone, UNAMSIL, West Africa. In that I happen to be a member. The group was divided into a number of teams. Sierra Leone had a couple of teams, and at these teams, our job was to carry out a kind of a monitoring of the activities based on some agreement which had been jointly accepted by the rebel group and the government of Fode Sanko is to be the rebel leader, I remember. No more, he's been hanged. And the government of Sierra Leone. So, like I have brought out, UK is to support the government over there. Incidentally, Sierra Leone is a country which has been built by India.
Oh, really?
Talk about the roads, talk about the railways, talk about the Jaipur fort, prosthesis and all. But the kind of violence it actually went through was something which cannot be explained in a podcast like this. It was terrible. We managed to get the rebels together, 3,200 rebels, disarming them and first is demobilization, thereafter you disarm, thereafter rehabilitate. In short, is to call DDR. It was a massive exercise. Somehow I find, having traveled the length and breadth of Africa, I personally feel the soft power now which India has is tremendous. It's a force multiplier. Every country I have visited in Africa have got so much of regards and respect for a country like India. We may not be economically vibrant, although we are fourth today.
Right.
We may not be militarily so mightyful, but we are still fourth largest armed forces. We are still sixth largest as far as the global firepower index is concerned. But the soft power has got an enduring kind of love and regards for the country like India. That soft power gave respect and position to me during this DDR. Out of so many military observers, people said, would you like to listen to the Indian? I went up, spoke to these people. They were so disarmed. And they said, here it is, the weapons are surrendered. It is not come out in the media. People will always object, no, this is a fabricated story. Because since I've gone through it, I know it. Second thing, rehabilitation was a problem. Firstly, you got to demobilize, get people from wherever they are to a central place. Thereafter, disarm them. The weapons had to be surrendered and they had to be put into kind of an armory. Thereafter, rehabilitate them. So rehabilitation had a process of registration and putting them back into some kind of government agency so that they earn the livelihood. Okay, this was a massive task. But along with that was the child warrior, which was actually the vigilantes. They were the informers of the rebels.
Oh, okay.
Most of them had lost their parents to rape, what do you call that, judicial killings and abduction, hijacking of people, murder, these kind of things. One such child, since you're asking, what is that, is the noble incident which is haunting me in my memory. Sure. That child, when you carry out the registration, you are the interviewer. You are asking something to a child. The child doesn't know what to say, what not to say. Children of the age of 8 to 14 years. There was a girl child who was sitting, and you had to fill up the particulars in the UNICEF forms.
Right.
I had been put as the team leader. While registering her name and number, the child did not come out with the details until an incident was narrated by me. We had mobilized that day. Chinese were the team duty officers. A message came from the United Mission headquarters that please move 90 kilometers away. There is a village by so-and-so name. It has got vandalized. You people have to go, put the villages to a secure place, make sure that your presence is visible, and the rebels are discouraged to come in inside.
Right.
The child had witnessed her mother being raped and hung upside down over fire. The father, his limbs had been chopped off. She had a brother. The brother also in broad daylight, they had been chopped off. And they were all hanging by the fire. She had lost her expression or the speaking power. She couldn't speak until I narrated the incident. She came out with those details. It was such a poignant situation. And that girl broke down. After having broken down, she started giving out, yes, this is the story that I have gone through. I have lost my mother, lost my father, lost my brother. There is nobody in this earth to take me along. She said, don't worry, we are there to take you along. It is the UNICEF which carried out the registration. That particular incident, I can never forget. There are many other things which have happened in United Nations. But this incident, I feel United Nations, notwithstanding the aspersion which is being cast against this particular apex organization, they are still doing a very noble job, very magnificent job. We need to look out for these kind of small incidents for which the life of the mankind which is being subjected to torture and extrajudicial killing is still meaningful and substantive. Therefore, I may not give 100% marks to such apex organization, but I also won't be party to people making loose remarks and casting aspersions against such global organization. They are still meaningful, substantive, but we need to make them effective by different means and methods.
The kind of impact you have made, this of course just one of the many, I'm sure, many hundreds and thousands of incidents, and thank you for that huge impact that you made there, especially when it comes to children. The whole discussion is at a different plane, and thank you for what you're doing. Switching tracks, General, you're a rare officer with command experience across all three sectors of the Indo-China border, and you're also fluent in Chinese. And how did this focus on China develop? Where did it start from? And in the current geopolitical context, obviously, I've heard your other podcasts in the mainstream media, both in India and international. You've been talking about China's role in the current geopolitical situation. There are several other equations that we can touch upon going forward. Speak to us about your fascination for China.
Oh yes, Dr. Abdul Kalam is no more, may his soul rest in peace. He was the president of India,
Yeah.
and I have read most of his books. Scientific temperament was the central theme that we need to develop as a nation. Uh, During his tour to Assam, if I recall correctly, to one of the schools, one student after his speech asked Dr. Kalam, "Who's a scientist?" Okay, this is in response to your question, so allow
Sure,
me,
sure, no,
if I
please.
get digress, bring me back
No,
to
no,
the
no,
conversation.
you're fine.
So, when that little child who was very young, I think 10 or 11 years old, girl child, asked this question to President Abdul Kalam, he looked towards the teachers, there was no response. He looked towards the parents, there was no response. He looked towards the students, no response. He looked towards this little girl who was asking the question. He says, "Who could be a scientist, a better scientist than you?" So the girl retorted back, not retorted, replied back, "Uncle, President, Sir, by different names.
Right.
How can I be a scientist? I am just a student. I have not even gone beyond a particular class." So Dr. Abdul Kalam, he goes to explain to her, a scientist is a person who has got one central factor. That factor is curiosity. So similarly, when you talk about Chinese, I really don't know how Chinese. I became an expert along the northern border. I have been a Tawang Brigade commander. I have been in the middle sector. I have commanded GOC of 3 Infantry Division, or call it Eastern Ladakh. Plus I know Chinese. It did not happen by a plan. It just happened naturally. Perhaps that makes me believe that each one of us are preordained genetically to take the orientation of a particular path. Perhaps broken knee, not getting operated, going to climb the mountains, whether it is Tawang, Kargil, Dras or Eastern Ladakh, except for Mount Everest, I think I would have gone to all the mountains, so Siachen Glacier. So, but this is a naturally evolving kind of a phenomena which has captured me, kept me at the central, in keeping with my passion and pursuit. But allow me, I'm mindful of the time that you have. There is something that happened. Something that happened when I came back from Sierra Leone. We came back after 6 months. So tenure used to be 1 year. So we have a system that anyone who comes back from a particular mission, truncated tenure, then you are given a chance to spend the balance of the tenure in another mission. So in the group, I was offered a chance. I declined. I said no. Why I declined was, this was at a time when the Operation Vijay or the Kargil War, the black clouds of Kargil War were looming large over the sky. My own battalion was at a place called Chor Batla, along the line of control. And it had come back. It is perhaps, to the best of my knowledge, the patrol party, one of the patrolling party of my battalion, came back from line of control with the Pakistan, and one of them reported having recovered a packet, a mango juice packet written as "made in Karachi." So when this was reported, people dismissed it. They said, no, it is just a figment of imagination. How can somebody cross the line of control and come towards India, well into the depth, and leave a Karachi, made in Karachi packet? So my Sahak, at one point in time, he called me up. He said, "Saab, I am in deep trouble." I go, "Why are you in deep trouble?" So people have got after me. There is an inquiry. Everyone is saying he's a dramatist, he's a caricaturist and all. He's imagining things, and how can a packet like this come? So when he spoke to me, he said, "Sir, I am going home. Perhaps I'll be court-martialed." "Don't worry. Nothing will happen. I am coming to you." So long and short, came back to the battalion. Unit was moving from Chor Batla to Nimu to Siachen Glacier. Anyone who goes to Siachen Glacier, battalion prepares for at least 1.5 to 2 years. I was nowhere in the radar of preparation. Went to the commanding officer, spoke to the commanding officer. I don't know how I mustered so much of courage. I want to remain in the thick of things, not for limelight. But in the thick of things, I want to do something. I just simply cannot, I don't know how to relax and do nothing. So went to the commanding officer, pleaded, requested him. He said, Sudhakar, how can you go? You haven't done pre-induction training. It will take so much time. And people have been grouped, bodies have been identified. They have been rehearsed. They have been practicing for past 6 to 9 months. You are coming middle of this thing. Another 14, 20 days, you'll be climbing up. I said, sir, give me a chance. I'll give you success and success. And you'll not have any comeback from my side, sir. Trust me. So I went. He came to see me off at the start point, asked me, Sudhakar, what's up? So commanding officer of the rank of colonel asking a major, sir, what's up? Well, I don't know. You don't formulate answers in response to senior officers.
Yeah.
It just happened to be there in my heart, mind and soul. I said, sir, 64 ले जा रहा हूँ. In Hindi, 64 ले जा रहा हूँ, 64 लेके आऊँ. What it meant was, I'm taking 64, I'll bring back all 64. Every task given by you will be discharged as per the mandate, as per to the best of my capability and understanding. There will be no compromise in the security of the battalion.
Right.
This is what I said. We moved from starting point to stage point 1, stage point 2. Believe you me, Guru, stage point 2, there are stages at 14,000, 16,000, 18,000, likewise, to climb up to the place where you have to discharge your duty. Stage point 2 had never ever experienced any shelling or firing from Pakistan in those days.
Mm-hmm.
The day we landed up, it was quite dark, around 1:30, 2 o'clock, and temperature was minus 23 degrees Celsius, if I recall.
Wow.
And we came under intense shelling.
Huh.
I didn't know what wrong we had done. And it was a difficult task. Anyway, we managed to come up to the point. It was Jwala complex, 17,700. My teams were there at 21,000 feet and one at 19,000 feet. Bogi and Rishi stayed there. And within no time, the cyclic or kind of a rotational integrated firing started off. From 2 o'clock night, it is to carry on intermittently till 10 in the morning. And it not for 1 day or 2 days or 3 days, carried on for 14 days. So one got so fed up of Pakis and got disgusted. Everyone was angry. So I requested my CO ki allow me to make a tunnel, a ice tunnel. Okay. So we made a tunnel. It used to be called an ice cave with resources which were given by helicopter to us. There was intense shelling. I had told my boys, at no stage was I prepared to accept any casualty whatsoever. We'll perform every task. Right. But will not accept any casualties. There used to be there were 6 medium machine guns. They became defective. There were no bunkers. There were sangats. Sangats are loose stones. When you pile them up, make a little wall-like thing, and with the facade of the wall, you take protection. So all of them got destroyed. MMG were defective. And so people are very agitated. One Friday, the Rishi post commander, he called me up. He said, sir, I have not called you up to take your permission. I am going to lob a grenade. There are 32 of them, 200 feet down below my location. They're offering prayers. They're reading namaz on Friday. And I'm here lobbing the grenade. I said, no, nothing doing. You will not do it. So there was a contestation between him and me. Managed to diffuse the case. And I told him, ki, have patience. And finally, within next 7 days, the information that came from the commanding officer said, that there is a transcript in my hand. The SSG of Pakistan, they are going to launch an attack tonight. Are you ready? I said, sir, I'm always ready. A soldier is 24/7 ready. He said, are you prepared to repel the attack or destroy? I said, there is nothing short of destruction. Decimation is the answer. So it happened, midnight, the sentry at Bogi Post, he called up, and Subedar Nair, I still remember, he came rushing to me. Subedar Surinder and Nair, both. They said, sir, the information has come. He has spotted 267 lights, meaning 267 vehicles have come. I said, nay, in Siachen Glacier, you have hallucination, you have acute mountain sickness. I said, must be that kind of thing. Who's the boy? So he said, so-and-so was the boy. I'm forgetting his name, Bharat or Mahinda, some name. I said, no, that boy is good. But call the JCO. He's JCO platoon commander. Ask him. So when I spoke to the JCO, he said, Saab, the information is correct. What had happened was, a couple of kilometers away from my post was a mountain known as, hill feature known as Triveni. So Triveni is to have circular roads around the hill feature. Thereafter, it to come and join a glacier. All the movements of Pakistani used to be in all-terrain vehicles. The vehicles used to come right up to the post, whereas in our case, it used to be a steep gradient. We used to climb up. And when the vehicles came, they came 7 kilometers. The senior JSU came running to me. Sir, aaj chhodna nahi hai. Today we need to actually respond back. After 6 kilometers, another group of 4 people came. 5 kilometers, they kept on mounting pressure on me. At 700 meters, the regimental medical officer, Captain Punia, he came and told me, sir, let go. Don't allow them to escape today. So I just kept quiet. When they were about 400 to 500 meters, the company Havaldar Major comes and tells me, sir, what is your intention? Aapki irada kya hai? Whole company is agitated. They are about to fire at each other. So why don't you give orders to fire? I said, no. Let them come into the killing area. Just little ahead of the company defended locality, I would say there was a loop which the road was making towards Pakistani side. It was around 200 meters. All 3 all-terrain vehicles came into that. And the moment they came into the killing zone, that is the time I said, now is the time. Please open up. We had Bofors gun, we had field artillery, we had mortars, we had automatic grenade launcher. We devastated them. The movement used to be during night time in those days. For next couple of days, at many podcasts I have said 15 days, it may not be 15 days, maybe 10 days or so. We kept seeing through our passive night vision devices. They kept coming to take the mortal remains back from the area where they had actually strewn at number of places. That is what I am saying. The criticality of leadership lies in being a leader, despite the broken knee. I had climbed up to a height of 21,000 feet to motivate my men. Wow. That is the place where I saw one of the enemy sentries was firing at me with the help of sniper. I have picked up the weapon system myself, fired back at him, and he was knocked down. And it is to be called a Sridevi feature. That was the kind of a milestone in my life which enabled me to fulfill my dream which I had dreamt. If you recall what I told the commanding officer in his office. So these are the kinds of things. And when it happened, I had called up Rajinder, I remember. I said, Rajinder, have you understood the meaning of patience?
Right.
Okay, so these are very, very vital things between a leader, situation, and a group of people. I had not commanded this company. I had not trained with the company. But by virtue of my confidence in me, by virtue of having served with the battalion in different companies, I knew that I am doing something for the larger good of the battalion's interest, the organizational goal. That is why I had self-conviction, confidence, and I was very, very clear as far as the objective was concerned. Everyone felt happy. When we came down, I am sure they may not have hugged me, but in the heart of their hearts, they knew that this man has got something in his mind. His clarity of thought, he is a visionary. He has got objective very clear in his mind. Means and method have fallen in place.
Continuing our conversation on China, again, from the line of actual control to today's complex dynamics, what would a permanent settlement between India and China look like? And is it more complicated now compared to ever before?
I have written a number of articles in South Asian Time, New York, the Sunday Guardian, and many other leading newspapers and magazines, plus also books, annual books. This is one thing which is actually becoming very complex by the day. The threat in 20th century was different from the threat in 21st century. This we need to understand. What was the threat in 20th century? The threat in 20th century was Cold War 1.0. Okay, you had a bipolar system. You had America promoting democracy. We had Soviet Union or USSR promoting community, authoritarian rule. So, by virtue of the expression, either of them, each of them were the adversary to other. But in 21st century, consequent to the disintegration of Soviet Union, much against our expectations. We all expected that the unipolar world would be led by the superpower in a cutting edge style with superior authority, power and authority, but that was not to be seen. You see, America, unfortunately, the reality is it is showing very significant symptoms and signs of declining superpower. That is the reality. I would love the superpower to remain as a superpower.
Sure.
Okay. So who doesn't want? Because only then the global order would be. Today we are unfortunately gravitating towards a new paradigm. It is called as a polycentric or multipolarity. You have Russia propping up its head, you have China propping up its head, and China, the same China which was outsourced way back in 70s or 60s by the superpower, the USA, to become the manufacturing hub, it started showing teeth. Today, China is leading out of 64 critical mineral technology or minerals. Way back in 2003 to 2007, China was leading in 3 to 4 critical minerals. US was actually leading in the rest of it. Today in 2025, you find out of 64, China is leading in 57 and US is leading in 7. This itself signifies the distinction. You have to understand that. So I'm not talking only about deep sea.
Yeah.
Look at the shift.
Yeah.
Technology is the future. It is not the present oil. It is going to be the future oil of existence of mankind.
Absolutely.
If that be so, it was DeepSeek a kind of a warning call? Yes. China is miles ahead. We need to study China. China, if you look back in 2000, okay, I'm bringing that aspect to
Sure.
respond to your query.
Yeah.
I hope I have, yes, there is certain statistics I compiled while coming here. Yeah, I have this. Can you believe it? In the year 2000, US had a PhD STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Okay?
Correct. Yeah.
STEM. China realized that to get going ahead to become a superpower or global power, science and technology has to be given due importance. You see, this realization did not come in 2000 when Deng Xiaoping, after Mao Zedong passed away, Deng Xiaoping came to power. He is the one who said that science and technology have to actually have to be part and parcel of the economic development. Military is going to ride the back of your agriculture, your services, your industry, your science and technology. Okay, so he shifted the focus of China to science and technology way back in 76, 79.
They had the vision.
Okay, now in 2000, what happens? Just listen to the statistics. I was reading a book yesterday.
Sure.
US had 18,289 PhD scholars STEM. China in 2000 had 9,038. India, nothing was published. Okay, nothing came on the media, open source. In 2010, in 2007, China started a scheme known as Young 1,000 Talents. They started promoting STEM subjects. And in 2010, US had climbed up from 18,289 to 26,076 PhD students or PhD scholars with STEM. China had jumped from 9,038 to 34,801. India, none. In the year 2019, China had climbed to a figure of 33,000, US had climbed to 33,759 from 18,289 in 2000. China had gone up from 9,038 to 49,498. That is the year India started figuring in the open source intelligence or open source. Mm-hmm. It was for the first time, to the best of my research and understanding, India had 700 PhD STEM scholars. Out of 700, 70% had migrated to countries abroad and settled. Okay? In the year 2025, US has grown from 18,289 in 2000 to 39,959. China has grown to 77,001. It has left the US behind. Another factor, very quickly. The world leading scientists. I will not go on to define who is the leading scientist. Sure. You know it for sure. Yeah. From 2020 to 2024, USA had a total of 36,959 world leading scientists. China had 18,805. Okay. In 2024, the USA has been left behind. It is risen up to a figure of 31,781. China has overtaken USA to a figure of 32,511. So what is it that I'm trying to highlight? The focus and orientation of China has taken a significant shift towards science and technology. Okay, so when you talk about China, China is or not all about the military might or the size. Yes, the military is growing for sure. Yes, it has invaded Tibet and captured Tibet. India never had a border or boundary with China, ever. India had a border with Tibet. Tibet is still being called as a Tibet Autonomous Region, TAR, T-A-R. Similarly, Xinjiang province is to be called East Turkestan. India had a border towards eastern Ladakh side with East Turkestan. So if you take your mind back to historical perspective, whether it was Dogra War or the Sikh Federation giving up to the Britishers, they had a long back in 1684, where there was a Shumgogen agreement signed between Tibet and the people here this side of J&K or the India. And that agreement was the dividing line based on which the India's map, when you see the India Survey of India 1954 map, the contours depicted with the help of orange and the green color are actually the delineating boundaries between the East Turkestan and the Tibetan Autonomous Council or the region. Unfortunately, China invaded Xinjiang province. Name is Xinjiang now. Way back in 1949 when the PRC came into existence. Same is the case with Tibet. So, be that as it may, there has been a growing differences, growing change in perception. China is very, very intransigent, rigid. In my understanding, China is leveraging this disputed status of the border to its advantage. Now, what is it that China is looking for? China has got two landlocked provinces. One is the Sichuan province to the south. The other one is the Xinjiang. These are the landlocked provinces which are very far away from the east coast. The east coast is around 14,000 kilometers. Okay, and if you take your mind back, apart from the continental threat that China has gone through the century of humiliation, China also was invaded from the east coast always and every time. So therefore, it has made its east coast, and if you see the 90% or more of population of China is biased towards the east coast. That is where the military assets are also there. The industry is also growing in that area. Right. The areas which are actually now are rebellious in nature are Xinjiang and the Tibet. It wants to have effective control over this, for which technology is being assimilated and integrated in the system of administration, for which China is also trying to keep the border issue open, because the aim is not to settle the border with India. Aim is to have secure access of the warm waters of the Bay of Bengal and the Arabian Sea. That's the CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. If you study in detail, no matter what would be happening, the instability in Pakistan is a welcome situation for China to go deeper and deeper and make Pakistan dependent on China so much so that it will have the advantage at some point in time to take it away from America. It will not happen. America will remain predominantly one of the factors on which Pakistan will remain dependent. Absolutely. Same is the case with Myanmar. There is a strategic rivalry going on. So basically, India, by virtue of its geostrategic importance and the geography, this is posing as a big threat to China. Of its growing aspiration to what is the aim of China? China is trying to rejuvenate its status of Middle Kingdom by 2049 or before that and become a global power, so as to challenge US as a superpower. We are all aware of the Thucydide trap. Professor Allison of US only, who has said and established in 2015, it came in the open media, that any established power of past 500 years, he has carried out a study, no established power has ever allowed a rising power to come up to its footing. Footing I'm using deliberately because that is the expression which has been used in his articulation. What it means is USA will never allow China to come up with its footing. Mindful of the fact that USA only has allowed China to become the manufacturing hub. Today it is the
Correct.
country which is having trade surplus with a significant number. There are more than 120 countries which are doing trade with China. Along with USA, China has got a trade surplus. You look at China is gravitating away from geopolitics, which was the central factor to win the war and ensure stability way back in 20th century, to geoeconomics. China wants to win a war without fighting one. By what means? By means of geoeconomics.
Got you.
It doesn't want to fire a single shot against anywhere. No war to date has given you peace and harmony anywhere in the world. China has learned many lessons from USA. Talk about the Vietnam, talk about the Afghanistan, talk about the Libya, talk about your Syria, talk about the Middle East, any kind of conflict. Has USA ever left behind a stable government anywhere? Talk about Iraq, the Desert Storm. No, these are the reality. These are the facts of life. So mindful of these facts, China is playing its game very, very discreetly, in a, I would say, calibrated manner, not participating openly with any conflict, be it the Russia-Ukraine war or with the Israel and the Hamas, or with, we all know about the Iran, how Iran is to support Syria. Russia has participated and supported Iran in support of Syria. But China is playing the game of geoeconomics to make every country dependent on it, whether you call it as a debt crisis or something. It is creating such a kind of pitfall, making them gravitate into those debt crises and without making them realize, and creating a situation wherein the land assets on which the infrastructure development is taking place in form of BRI, or you call it as Silk Route, or whatever names you call, it is making the world order change and capturing the world order in its favor today. So therefore, China has to be played. My response to your query is there a permanent solution? There was a stage when Sowle came with the offer, permanent solution to the border. He said, you keep Arunachal Pradesh and give Aksai Chin to us. Jawaharlal Nehru refused, declined, for whatever reason. I am not casting aspersion or pointing a finger at Jawaharlal, but he went back. The same offer was repeatedly offered to Atal Bihari Vajpayee during his visit, when he went, I think, in 79. Way back in 93, Narasimha Rao went there. Right. We went in for a lot of protocols and agreements, wherein the LAC, line of actual control, what it meant was what Sowle had offered it way back in 1960. Okay, so willy-nilly we accepted that. And although domestic constituency was very violent as to why have you accepted something which was declined way back in 1960s. The only way to actually achieve border settlement at that point in time was as is, where is basis. What Sowle had come with line of actual control. There is no way, there is no method to resolve the issue. So wherever they are and wherever we are, let's draw a line by a process of give and take. The way we have resolved issue with Bangladesh, we need to resolve it at the earliest. Otherwise, China will continue to exploit the issue remaining open in its favor by means and methods of salami slicing as it is doing now.
On that note, stay inspired. Until next time.